go ahead and open up for questions for the student athletes. Over here, Pat.
Betnijah Laney, could you just talk about, obviously it's such a familiar opponent. Are you excited for this battle with New Jersey? And when you saw the bracket, you saw you were playing Seton Hall in the first round, what were your thoughts?
You know, we're very excited, especially being, two New Jersey teams, and to be so close to home. That that's really great for us because both teams can have their fans and family be there.
Yeah, just going off what Betnijah said, I think it's really good for New Jersey and for both of our fans. So we're just excited to be a part of the NCAA and to be able to represent New Jersey.
Seton Hall has 3 graduate seniors. They have a lot of experience. Can you see that on tape when you watch them?
Yeah, we can definitely see it, and Coach Stringer put a lot of emphasis on it that these players are experienced and that they're going to come out and give it their all. So we're just ready to come out and compete.
Back row.
Betnijah, can you talk about, for you and SC, how important, and Krista, how important it is to win an NCAA? I know you want to win the whole thing, but just to get one NCAA tournament win on your resume before you guys are done?
It's really important for us being seniors because, throughout our whole college career, we haven't, aside from freshman year, we haven't been here. And even freshman year, we lost the first round. So, it'll be, another accomplishment for us to, be here and compete and then also get a win.
Go ahead.
Kahleah, you were the MVP of the WNIT last year. How much did that experience help you guys? Obviously, better competition here, but how much did that tournament experience help you guys with what's going to lie ahead?
I think the NIT has, in a way, prepared us because in the NIT we were like road warriors. We were just going from different places and just coming out and bringing it every night. So I think that it gave us the mentality that we had to fight. We had to give it that all in those 40 minutes. So I think we know what it takes to come out and have to play in those 40 minutes, knowing that it could be our last. So it definitely helped us in. Yeah.
Front row over here.
Ladies, for those of us who watched you play in your careers in the Big East and then in the American Conference, can you tell us a little bit about what the transition's been like to your new conference, how you've enjoyed it, what kind of differences you've noticed this year over what you experienced in the past?
The transition, I think we're a team that we adjust really well to our competition. No matter, even though it was definitely different. This year, it was the players and everything were a lot bigger than players that we played in the past. I think other conferences that we had played in, it was more of a faster pace, but I think that we adjusted well. We didn't stray away from how we play, which is a fast-paced game. We like to get a lot in transition, and I think that even with conference changes and everything, we still stuck to our game.
It was interesting because being in 3 different conferences, but I enjoyed the Big Ten this year. It was very competitive, and I thought we brought it every night, and I can just respect the Big Ten for being so competitive.
What was the traveling like? It seemed like you probably were on planes a lot, right?
Yeah, cold. Yeah, no hot weather. Everything was cold, so that was different. But it was a nice experience.
For both players, you came to Rutgers expecting to be in the NCAA tournament every year. Now, when you didn't taste it, did you miss it? I mean, what was it like not being there and now actually being a part of it?
Yeah, we definitely missed it. Our class is the only one who has experienced a little of the NCAA, and we definitely missed it. And we used the other year, as stepping stones. Each year, I think that we progressed, especially last year, not being invited and going to the WNIT. That definitely gave us a taste of what it could be like, playing 6 games, back to back, and having to make a run on through all 6 games and being in different places.
In the back row.
Betnijah, so you've experienced both. You had the 1 game in the NCAA tournament and then 6 games in the WNIT. Obviously, the NCAA tournament has more prestige, but what prepares you better for Seton Hall, UConn, whatever it is ahead? Is it 6 games tournament format, or is it the NCAA experience?
I think we can take a little from both. I think we played great competition. Being in the Big Ten and also being in the Big East and the AAC before. But just to know what it feels like to have to play 6 games and to be able to sustain. I think both experiences helped us.
Right here.
Along those lines, is it gratifying to you to know that your class brought this program back to the NCAA tournament?
Yes, but I don't think it was just our class. You know, we have all of our classes that we have brought in have helped contribute to where we are right now. Our class with, you know, just the leadership and the tenacity to just get out there and bring it every day. And then Kahleah's class, you know, with scores and just their intensity and everything. And then Tyler to come in and just do what she did. And then even our freshman class right now, they've been a big part of it. Even if everyone's not playing, you know, the same type of minutes, everyone brings it in practice, you know, on the bench, everyone's being encouraged by the people on the bench. So, you know, I think it's a collective effort.
Pat in the front.
Can you both address what was your reaction to seeing basically a Big East reunion in the first 2 rounds? You have Seton Hall, you have Connecticut. Were you disappointed to be placed here, and how do you approach like the old Big East tournament?
Yeah, we were excited to be a part of the NCAA tournament, and it was cool to be reunited with Seton Hall, and even from just playing them in the NIT last year, and it's always a good game.
I'm sorry, can you ask that
The
again?
bracket overall, you didn't get to go someplace exotic, and you're playing Seton Hall, and if you beat them, you're playing UConn, which is something you guys have had to deal with in the past for years. Is that disappointing to you?
No, not necessarily. You know, with us being right here, it's good for us. You know, we can have our fans and our family and everyone here to support us. And, you know, we're familiar with our competition. So we know what we have to do. We know what they're capable of. We don't have to, you know, do too much more as far as scouting is concerned, trying to understand the teams because we're familiar with them.
Back up.
You got, for both of you guys, you were probably both on the floor when Tyler made the layup at the end of the UTEP game to win that game. What do you guys remember from that play, and were you surprised that a freshman had the guts or whatever to take that shot and not give it to one of you two guys, the older girls?
I know, I don't think anyone was surprised. You know, Tyler, she had showed what she was capable of all season. So it wasn't a surprise. You know, it was just, it was exciting, you know, to have our first national championship under our belt and everything. And it doesn't matter who put it in the basket as long as it went in.
Kahleah, what do you remember about the play?
Yeah, I just remember standing in the corner when she went to the rim, and I was just so excited that we won the game. And I knew what she was capable of ever since she came in, and she just always wanted to work hard. So when she did it, it was no surprise, and we were just excited.
Anything further for the student athletes? Okay. You guys can head back to your locker room. There's just over 20 minutes left on the open locker room for Rutgers. We'll now open it up for questions for the head coach. Right here.
Coach, what does it mean to you personally to be back on the stage, have the program back in the NCAA tournament?
Well, it's major. We're familiar with this. Very definitely in a little strange territory for the last couple of years, but felt really great about the march that we had for the WNIT championship. So, but this is nice. I like the logo, the basketball, you know, with the halo around it. I'm used to that. And we definitely want the Scarlet Knights to always be used to that.
Second row.
I wanted to piggyback off Ryan's question about Tyler, the WNIT, the coast-to-coast layup. What do you remember about that, and just the guts that she had as a freshman to take over the game like that?
I think just like Betnijah and Kai said, it's not unusual. I mean, she did that in the, I think it was the SMU game, and Rico followed that up. She always wants the ball. I think that when we went into the double overtime game with North Carolina, said, "Give me the ball, coach. Give me the ball. Give me the ball." And I think that we all, as coaches, like to have that. Whether that person is the person that's best in that given situation is another story. But you always want players that want the ball. And I've shared a story with the players about a situation that we had when we played for the national championship and we were playing against Ohio State. And I looked to put a player in but when I looked to put her in, she looked the other way. So it's good to see someone like Tyler that wants the ball.
Well, what's it been like for you to go back to the Big Ten again and with a different team and in a different era after playing in the Big East and the American for 2 decades almost? What's it been like for you?
Interesting. Sometimes you try to figure out whether you're in the Big Ten, Big East, or AAC. You know, but to be very positive about what's going on in the Big Ten, we're really excited about the outstanding competition. And as our players were saying, the styles are somewhat different, but make no mistake about it. The Big Ten is a different conference than when I last was there. I mean, the skill level of the players is outstanding. Players 1 through 5 can shoot it at the 3-point range. They are considerably bigger. To get on the planes and to travel. So actually, I'm having the best of all worlds. I used to say at times that I wish that I could take Iowa with me to the East. So in effect, that's what's happened. I'm in the Big East, you know, on the East Coast, but I'm able to play in the Big Ten, and that's special.
Bro?
I mean, you had such high praise for your senior class on senior day, saying that they got as much out of themselves as anybody, but they still haven't won an NCAA tournament game. Do they need to do that kind of to validate their place with all the other great senior classes you guys have had?
It still doesn't take away from the fact that I said that if I were to select 10 players in my lifetime, I would take that senior class. Just because all we could ask of anyone is that they give the very best that they have, and they come to practice and they work so hard every single day. But to say, to piggyback on what Betnijah said, it's not just that class, you know, because there are only 3 people in that class. There are other people that had to have been a part of that to build it up, but also why we haven't been there in a while. So I personally would be so touched and so happy to see this senior class, yes, you know, say that they were a part of the NCAA tournament, and it would be major, but not to validate them as great players and hardworking people.
Over here.
Vivian, you've had to do this before, go into a tournament where UConn is at the end of the road. And, how do you approach it this weekend with your team? Is it one game at a time, and how are you reacting to being placed here of all places?
Here of all places. Okay, first of all, I am familiar with, I even knew where I was supposed to go in the locker room. I know about this place, believe me, left, right, middle, that's great. And the fans are outstanding. And so I'm really happy for our team to get an opportunity to witness and to experience that great crowd support. That is if, and trusting and hoping that we get past Seton Hall, because that is not a given. We had a double overtime game at our place, and I thought, what's the odds of that happening, that we would play Seton Hall again the first round of the NCAA, just like we did for the WNIT. So be that as it may, I thought that it's exciting. Our players are somewhat familiar with those players. The coach has done a great job, and we're honored to have 2 teams coming out of the state of New Jersey. So in effect, I think that the NCAA people probably got together and said, this would be really great, because we can get all the fans there, and so for whatever reason, you know, but it's great. So I'm looking forward to that. And it's great because we're all you know, close. It's just a bus ride down the road, and so we can play UConn as well. So to be very positive about that, Betnijah, like Betnijah said, family gets a chance to come up and travel and visit. Because, you know, you also know many times when we have been highly ranked and we've been sent out to Oregon and Tacoma, Washington, and everywhere else. So I never know where we're going. So surprised, and I'm happy that we're here. Just took a bus ride, and it's nice because we got a chance to look at some movies as we were coming here. We do have a formidable opponent, should that be, you know, our destiny.
Right here in the front.
Over the course of the year, Doug Bruno and Harry Prada in their own way sort of spoke about the experience of being separated finally from Notre Dame and Connecticut and being in a conference that you felt. I think you know what I'm saying. Do you feel that way? Did you feel that way when you got sent out of the Big Ten? I mean, whatever reason, Connecticut and Notre Dame have dominated their conference for so many years. Did you feel now that maybe you could start over with Rutgers with a fresh attitude
Shazam, the Big Ten, the NCAA said, come on back to UConn. Shazam. That's interesting, isn't it? Let me say this. If you look at all the teams with West Virginia, DePaul, Villanova, all of these teams, all of the teams that were part of the Big East were powerful as they left. And they look what's happened with Notre Dame. They've dominated that conference, you know, and Juneau's going to dominate the world. So that happened. You know, the same thing with DePaul. Not one of those teams that was a part of that Big East, you know, were slouches. And so, long story short, we then had the most powerful basketball conference in the country. But you wouldn't have found Muffet asking, can we please play Connecticut again and again and again? You know, I think that the highlight was to have those two teams, or for the same thing with Louisville, you know, to meet on another stage. We just happened to have been in that particular conference. So now that we split up, I think it's probably good for the basketball world. It's probably good for a lot of fans across the country. And I have a feeling that so often those teams that were a part of the Big East, though we've been separated, will have an opportunity to join together on a national stage. Yeah, probably at an Elite Eight level or something like that.
We're going to go second row, but there's, just so you know, there's 13 minutes left on the open locker room. Right here.
Seton Hall's graduate seniors or senior late lineup, does that experience show through on tape when watching and scouting?
That's interesting. That's the first time I've ever played a team that had 3 graduate students on that team. And they are the only conference in the country that has 3 players that are averaging 17 or more points a game. It's very evident that they're very experienced. And one of those players was a former player of mine, and I thought enough of her that midway through the first year, I started her. And so it's not surprising. You know, I know what she could do. She's an outstanding player. I love her to death. So, yeah, it's very clear, but as Kahleah was saying, I've tried to emphasize that, and we would not have played those players with that kind of experience. So I was trying to explain the importance of us taking care of the ball because they're very poised. They know what they're doing. They respect each other. They space it out, and they let each other do what they need to do. So hopefully we've gotten that message real clear. But yes, they're an outstanding team, but very experienced.
Do you take pride in the fact that your program is so to speak, carrying the flag for Rutgers, whereas it's been a struggle, the transition's been a struggle for other programs in the Big Ten? It seemed like it was much more seamless for you guys in your first year.
Well, let me say this. I mean, the Big Ten is a storied conference, you know, and we certainly didn't want to be the doormat. We didn't intend to be a doormat team, and we have been on the rise with Betnijah and Kai to return to what we were. It's still in the process for sure. And as I said, I mean, it was tough, and it doesn't look like it was as tough as it was maybe. But yes, I'm really happy that we were able to do that. And of course, with Maryland coming in, they sustained and were able to do what they did in the AA, you know, in the Atlantic Coast Conference as well. But yeah, we want to do better, and we will.
Right here in front.
Vivian, we've heard over the course of the year that Rutgers and Connecticut have been having conversations about perhaps trying to play each other again in the regular season. Obviously, we haven't heard anything about that. What's been going on? Is there any hope in the future that that might happen?
Well, let me say it like this. We've also had conversations about there being mandates for Seton Hall and Rutgers to play. Do you know how many teams that there are in the Big Ten? 14? Something like that. But this makes sense where we are. It makes sense for Seton Hall. It makes sense for Connecticut. So, yes, I'm sure that we are in the process of doing that. But everything will be taken into consideration. Obviously, the RPI, our RPI is going to be helped by a Connecticut game. Our RPI now will be, you know, not at all hurt and perhaps helped with the Seton Hall game as well. So that's possible. That's possible, but I will say this, we have been trying, and I have always tried to, have a flavor for various conferences across the country, but we just don't go into arenas just to play the game. We take trips, historical trips, and quite honestly, I would like to have some warm weather as well, if you don't mind. I know what it's like. So I like to flavor that a little bit too. It's nice to take a trip to North Carolina or Tennessee, Georgia, somewhere where it's nice and warm, Florida, so all of those things are taken into consideration. I'll just say it like that. All those things are taken into consideration.
Any other questions for the head coach? Okay, thank you
you.
very much.
Thanks, Vivian.
We have 9 minutes left on the open locker room.